Right now we're going to welcome in Kevin Minnick of NJ Advanced Media, NJ.com, get his thoughts on high school basketball in South Jersey. Good morning, Kev.
Hey, good morning, Sully.
What's happening, bud?
You got 40 minutes till the Schweimer. You need me to fill? You need me to fill that time for you?
Yeah, stay on the line. I'll cut out of here early. You can talk to Nick for the next 40 minutes.
All right. Whatever you need to do is fine with me.
What's on your mind, man? If you got 40 minutes, you must have a lot to talk about.
There's always stuff to talk about. We can rummage up a lot of different stuff, but it's odd, let's put it that way, that basketball games today have just dropped off the charts because of cancellations when the governor put this state of emergency in. So all the big things pretty much are done for the day, and we're trying to see what might be available. I know that apparently there's some games going on over at Millville today. I'm guessing that they're still on. I haven't heard that they're not, but the state of emergency has really put a little bit of a dent in the weekend basketball schedule.
Yeah, it looks like North Jersey is going to get the worst. I don't know if we'll even get anything in South Jersey, maybe a little bit of rain. But, yeah, since that state of emergency, the ACIT girls tournament going on today, that whole slate got canceled. So I guess we'll have to see how the weather plays out, but I don't expect it to be too much in South Jersey.
No, not much today. So maybe a little bit of a chance to breathe for a couple minutes.
There you go.
and as you say, recharge the batteries for when things pick up again at some point next week.
Sometimes you need a day like that, though. I kind of took a day like that yesterday and just kind of relaxed and clear the mind a little bit, because it can get to be a grind as you're trying to keep track of all these teams and sports going on, and it gets to be crazy sometimes. So not a bad thing to have a Saturday afternoon to yourself.
Yeah, we'll go through some notes and maybe make a couple phone calls, and it won't be that big of a deal today.
So what about this past week? What did you see in your travels? Anything becoming more clearer as we're kind of in the right smack dab in the middle of the season right now, about 6 weeks to go before the state playoffs and some other tournaments coming up in mid-February. So we're starting to get a little bit of separation in these leagues between the top and the middle.
Yeah, the one big game that kind of jumps out at me from this week was on Wednesday when Wyatt Catholic and St. Joe went to overtime, and it was a shame that that there was so many whistles in the game, and St. Joe had 4 guys foul out because they had done a nice job of rallying in the fourth quarter to force overtime. And if there's a lot of things you can take away from that game. One thing that I take away from that game is that, Marcellus Ross from St. Joe is a legitimate, bona fide, all South Jersey caliber basketball player. I don't think he came off the floor for St. Joe. He kind of willed them back into the game, and kind of showed that even though St. Joe was right there and had an opportunity to pull off that statement win that they've been looking for, that they're not that far away from doing that. So I thought that was aside from all the fouls, which really kind of limited the flow of the game. It wasn't that bad of a basketball game. It was very competitive. Both teams going back and forth. So that was a great, very nice night. And Taj Sweet and Jalil White, continue to be a 1-2 punch that Wyatt Catholic brings to the table every night. So, I'm pretty certain that they will play again, and I expect it to be another battle between the two of them.
Yeah, that's definitely a combination that's tough to deal with when you talk about Thweet and White. I mean, they could do so many things, not only offensively but defensively. I mean, Thweet is really a game changer around the rim and kind of makes you come out of your game a little bit of what you want to do offensively. It's not easy to kind of drive. He's very good at not fouling when people drive in there and getting block shots. So it's not like you can just say, hey, okay, we're going to go right at him and get him in foul trouble.
Yeah, I think I probably mentioned it before. If not, I know I wrote it that, I think the difference between Taj Sweet a year ago and today is in the aggressiveness and the maturity that's developed in his game. Last year I saw the potential there. I saw that the kid was definitely someone to keep an eye on, and he was going to be a player that was going to make a significant impact as he continued to get older and continue to improve his game. And this year he's absolutely done that. He's a major threat, at both ends of the floor every game. And he hasn't disappointed yet. So, they're a team that right now sitting, I believe, at 12-1, and they have a few more tough games ahead of them before the tournament, the Cal tournament starts and the playoffs start. So they're right now they're kind of just tuning up for the postseason and doing a real nice job.
Yeah, sometimes we forget. I mean, he's still just a junior, so last year he was only a sophomore. He's starting to walk around with that confidence of a high-level recruit type of kid, and when you see him even walking into the gym, he kind of has that little bit of swagger going with him, like, hey, I know I'm a good player now, a little bit more confident in his body and what he's doing, and he's still got a whole another year after this one, so it's going to be great to see what unfolds in his career. Yeah,
they're going to, they'll return just about everybody. So they added Deshaun Lopez to transfer from middle this week. So they're in good shape, not only for the rest of this year, but next year as well.
And, Kevin, a big night last night for St. Augustine. They had a really big road test at Millville, passed that test, got the victory. This is always a team that you want to worry about when it comes to February. They might have a few bumps along the road in early January, but any kind of Paul Rodeo coach team, they're going to figure things out as they progress through the season, and looks like they're could be on the verge of really going on a nice run here. I know they're a lot more competition in the Cape Atlantic League this year, but they're always a great team and starting to get the right kind of chemistry going with that new group they have.
Yeah, last night's game pretty much, was never in doubt from, I'd say, probably about the midway point of the first quarter. They kind of put together a nice run, took the lead, and then never looked back. And they're starting to really, I guess, start to gel and to start to play the kind of basketball Paul Rodeo expected. Obviously they have things to work on like every other team, and a long way to go. But things are starting to come together that weren't there a week, 2 weeks ago. The Delaney brothers are getting a lot better. They're starting to attack the basket a lot. With a lot more aggression, a lot more authority. Charles Solomon has really done a nice job of showing an all-around game. He's about I guess he's around 6'5" or so, but he can handle the ball a little bit outside. He made some nice passes last night, and obviously the highlight of the game last night was his dunk over his what he said one of his best friends in Rhinell Lawrence, that showed that given an opportunity to take the ball to the basket with authority, he's going to do so. So, like you said, they're a team that is going to have some more competitive games down the road, and is going to have some games outside of their league too that are going to be tough ones. But never ever count out St. Augustine when it comes to to the end of the year and the conference tournament as well as the state playoffs.
Yeah, he's a player, Kevin. You mentioned Charles Solomon. He's a player that I've really been impressed with. I mean, he was a good player last year, obviously, but seems to be really kind of taking ownership of that team, knows he's going to be the leader of that squad, even though they have the senior transfer in Delaney. But, man, he's come a long way in his game and really now kind of has the ability to go out there and dominate a game if need be. If the shots aren't falling for the other guys, he like you said, he's a guy that can take somebody off a dribble, step back, hit a three, a lot of different tools in his offensive arsenal, and that's going to be huge for St. Augustine as they get into end of January and February games.
Yeah, when you're coming off of your junior year and it's summertime and that this is going to be your last hurrah, you work a little bit harder and you put in a little bit extra time, and he I'm sure that he did that, and he's got his college set up. He's going to go to Division II Belmont Abbey, and when you're a senior, and it finally hits you that this is it. Every game is one step closer to being my last. I think it kind of brings out a little bit more in a lot of kids, and I think that's the case in Charles Solomon. I think he realizes that I'm only going to get a chance to play high school basketball with my friends, with my buddies, one more time, and let's go. We really got to make the best of it. So he's put in the time, he's put in the effort, and he's starting to really emerge for them.
We're talking with Kevin Minnick of NJ Advanced Media. Check out all his stuff on NJ.com. And Kevin, give our listening audience a little bit of a rundown of what's going on throughout South Jersey, what teams are starting to get some separation and really open up your eyes as, hey, this is a team to watch as we get into late January.
Well, I think it's kind of been the same teams as it started out to be. I mean, your Haddonfields are Mike DePersia is back for Haddonfield. You know, he was a all Group 1 selection last year, Group 2, led them to the Group 2 state title last year. And, you know, he suffered a wrist injury in the second game of the season. He missed 9 games, but he returned this week. And, you know, Haddonfield really didn't miss a beat without him. They'd had their one loss to Paul Six at the Shoot Down Cancer Classic last weekend. But, you know, other than that, they've, you know, winning ways have continued. And, you know, their schedule is going to get a little tougher as well. And having Mike back will make them, you know, even more of a tough team to beat. You know, and you know your typical teams. You know, your teams of Camden is now, you know, kind of separated themselves. I really was impressed with Paul the Six. I think you know, Paul Six could be a team in South Jersey non-public A that you know, could get itself to a final. They've got another matchup with Camden Catholic, the defending South Jersey A champions, on Monday, you know, weather permitting. And, you know, they beat them at Camden Catholic and on a buzzer beater, I believe it was. And, you know, they've been playing extremely well. Hartnell Hay is kind of a senior who I don't know if a lot of people really realize how good of a basketball player this kid is. Playing out of position as really their big guy at 6'5", but he can shoot the three, he can take it to the basket, and he defends extremely well. So, you know, I think that's another team to look at as you know, as you move closer to the tournament. And really, you know, if you just off the top of my head in Group 1, you know, you got a number of teams in Group 1, and I think right now a team to keep an eye on is Pennsgrove. You know, a lot of athletes on that team. They've got a team of what probably would be 4 guards and a pretty decent sized center in kid's last name is Newton. I believe his first name is Kalen. You know, they're playing really well right now. So, you know, these weekend showcases now, we're gonna start back with them pretty much the rest of the way. And, you know, that's an opportunity to see some of these teams play some really decent competition, you know, as we get closer to the state tournament. But, you know, I think, you know, the teams that are leading their divisions right now are probably the teams that most expected to happen. Not a whole lot of you know, I don't think there's really been a whole lot of surprises, but you know, there's another, a little less than a month, I guess, before, you know, regular season wraps up, and you know, we'll see who emerges from that. But so far so good, and you know, as long as the weather cooperates, we'll continue to see you know, good basketball on a nightly basis.
Kevin, real quick before we let you go, what are some of the showcase events coming up where if we have some basketball junkies listening, hey, mark this on your calendar, this is one you want to get out to and see some of the top teams. What do we have coming up?
Well, you know, next week in South Jersey is the Jeff Coney Classic over at RV. There'll be games all day. I think they start about 10 o'clock. They'll be playing games all day long there. There's some really nice teams, and they're going to be participating in that. Wyatt Catholic will play Cherokee. I think that'll be the kind of the marquee game of the tournament. And then the following week, you got 2 showcase events, one at Holy Cross on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then you got the Battle by the Bay down in Atlantic City. So, you know, check the schedule to see where your favorite team's playing, I guess, and you know, load up the car as to which direction you want to drive. But you know, those are a couple big ones. And then up North Jersey, you know, the primetime shootout is coming up pretty soon, and Camden will be playing in that. That'll give them a nice test. And also, I believe it's next Sunday, Camden's going to take on the number 1 team in the state in Roselle Catholic up at Kane. So there's definitely some great matchups, you know, on the horizon, and pretty much just keep a look on the schedule and kind of plan ahead because, you know, they're definitely out there.
Who else is in that RV tournament?
Oh, you got lots of, jeepers. Off the top of my head, Haddonfield will be playing. Paul the Six will be playing. Atlantic City's in the mix. Host RV, Jay Flanagan, really does a real nice job with that event. So that's off the top of my head. I don't really know the matchups right this very second, but year in and year out, that's always a good tournament. It's always a good tournament that Jay runs, and they've done a real nice job, you know, picking up scholarship money for their school, you know, through that. Jeff Coney was a former coach at RV who passed away several years ago, and that tournament is really, really nice. It'll start at 11 o'clock. I got it in front of me now. They'll play Cherry Hill East and Ewing will open it up at 11. You got a nice matchup with Willingboro and Millville at 11:30 that day. St. Augustine will be in there. Camden Catholic will play Morristown as part of it.
Nice.
Like I said, Wildwood Catholic Cherokee is probably the big game at 5:15, and it'll end with Atlantic City and Haddonfield at 7:15. So there's probably close to about a dozen games, and in both gyms there, and you can kind of pick your poison, stay all day, come and see one if you want. But it's a great day with basketball in both gyms that day.
Great stuff as always, Kevin. We appreciate it, man. Keep your notebook full. We'll check in with you next Saturday.
All right. Thanks again, Sully. Have a good day.
You got it. Thanks, Kevin.